Hey guys, Tyler here, and if you didn't notice, all of the stores changing their music playlist the very second November started. I'm here to remind you that the holidays are coming. So what I'm doing is I am doing a video here to help you find a gift for the Explorer, the Adventure, or the Overlander in your life. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through 12 different ideas, starting at the most expensive, and we're gonna get down to the cheapest, and the cheapest is one of the coolest ones on here, so stay tuned for that. I will leave links down below for all of this stuff in the order that it was presented. So first up, this is the most expensive and the second most expensive item on this list. The reason for that is there's two different versions of this. One at $499, one at about $349. So this camera looks like a toy, but it's actually a pretty useful little gadget, and I found myself using it a lot more than I expected. You can turn it on one way, it'll face forward. You can turn it on a second way, it'll face you. The $499 version comes with a wireless microphone. I don't know if everybody's gonna need that because of course everybody's not just making videos and putting them online. Now this isn't a camera that you're gonna mount to the outside of the vehicle, but it works perfectly for everything else. And some of those things are, first it's on a gimbal, which means no matter what you do, pretty much it's gonna have very stable video. You won't have any of the shaking effect. And then the other thing is this has active track. And what that means is you can lock onto somebody's face, or more importantly, if you're using this for off-road and you're filming yourself, you can lock onto your vehicle and go down an obstacle and get out, and the camera will keep up with what you're doing and it'll follow your vehicle automatically, kind of like having a cameraman there. You can set this on a tripod, it's got a base on the bottom. This is the Creator Combo at $499. It comes with the extra battery piece on the bottom as well as a wireless transmitter. You can set this down on the ground, scan over your vehicle, it'll follow you down an obstacle so you get video of that, or you can hand it off to a friend and they don't have to be good with the camera. All they have to do is look at the screen on the front and hold the thing, and no matter what, you're gonna get super stable footage. I know not everybody's into making videos like I am, but I know a lot of people like to take their phone out or their GoPro with them, and they usually have another camera with them. And I'm here to tell you this thing is so much more convenient than taking your phone off that you're using for maps or you're using it for music or something and setting it up as a camera and doing all that. This is the most convenient camera I've come across. So I wanted to recommend this first and foremost. Again, if you want the mic with it and the base piece, it's about $499. If you want it without the base piece, then it's $349. You can upgrade all that later. Okay, so next up at $299 are Maxtrax. And these are the tried and true, the best version of a recovery board. Obviously mine have battle scars. I've had these for years now. And these are some of the most incredible things on the market for off-roading, for overlanding, for traveling. Even if you're doing the van life thing, these are incredible because these will get you out of snow, out of sand, out of mud, and you almost never need to use your winch. So these are much safer, much easier to deal with, and they're just awesome. You can bridge them by stacking them up. In case you're looking at buying something like this for an overlander or an off-roader and you're not familiar with what this would actually be used for, I'll put a link to the video I recently did where I went out into the desert and I showed kind of what traction boards are for. If you have somebody in your life that spends any time in the sand, in the mud, in the dirt, in the snow, this is something they want for their four-wheel drive. I can 100% assure you of that. They're not gonna see this and be bummed out that you didn't get them socks or something. So this is one of the coolest things you can get for the Overland truck. So anyway, these speak for themselves, they're amazing. So next up are the Vortex Diamondback binoculars. A pair of binoculars goes hand in hand with the Explorer, and whenever you're trying to find a campsite in the distance or you're trying to see what an animal is on the side of a hill, it's nice to have a pair of binoculars. Now, Vortex has a lifetime warranty on everything, meaning if you run these over with your truck because you forgot to throw them back in, they will warranty these and send you a brand new pair. These are 10 by 42, which I think is the ideal size because if you get into like a 10 by 50, and 50 means that the lens appears bigger, they're harder to fit into small spaces. These are amazing. They have a 10x magnification, and I think everybody with a four-wheel drive should have a pair of binoculars in their truck. So this year I bought a Solo Stove Ranger, and these were something I was kind of skeptical on of how big of a deal it was. And after using this thing, this is an awesome piece of kit. You can go anywhere and you don't have to put up a campfire ring. You can set this on the ground pretty much anywhere. So the main advantage of these stoves is that it has air channels to where what's happening is it is burning off the wood almost entirely. There's plenty of oxygen to get to the wood. The reason smoke exists is because the fire is starving. This is feeding the fire all of the oxygen it needs, and so you have a near smokeless fire. At first, when you first started, of course, there's gonna be a little bit of smoke, but once it gets going, it really is a very low smoke fire. This thing will burn absolutely all of the wood off. There'll be nothing but ash left in it when the fire is out. So it's a pretty incredible little stove. It's nice going on a trip and not smelling like smoke for the next week when you have limited clothes and you're not gonna be able to wash them on your trip and stuff like that. This has multiple uses. You can also take it out front or take it out back and build a fire in the yard and stuff like that. So it is pretty practical for those types of uses. This thing packs up in its little bag and cinches off, and so you can't really smell it, and it stops all the ash from getting all over everything. Okay, so the next thing up is tried and true, and it's been around for a long time, and that's the Leatherman Wave. I carry one of these every single day. This is one of the most practical things you could possibly carry in your pocket. It's got all the different knives, all the different tools. It's got saws, it's got little can openers, and it's got pliers, of course. And these are one of the most useful tools that you can find in existence. The Leatherman Wave is my favorite of the bunch from Leatherman. This has been a tried and true multi-tool. With this, you won't have to necessarily dig in your bag of tools. Sometimes you're gonna have to do that, but having access to 2 different screwdrivers, knives, saws, files, things like that, and of course a pair of pliers with some wire cutters, this is a huge thing, and I think this belongs in every adventurer's pocket, or in the very least on the back of the seat on the molly straps or something like that, because this is one of the most useful tools I can think of. So something simple, something easy, and at 99 bucks, I think that this is something that everybody should have, because it's a very good idea to have something like this. I've carried this around for years now, and it goes in my pocket every single day. If you ever heard of the story of the guy who was in Utah and he fell in between the rocks and his arm got pinned and he had to cut his arm off with his multi-tool, he was using an off-brand cheap multi-tool, and he literally had to, it's a gory story, but if he would have had the trusty Leatherman Wave, he would have hacked that sucker right off and you'd have been good to go. And so don't buy a cheap tool, because you never know what's gonna happen. If you need something to work, you're gonna want a quality piece of gear. The Leatherman at 99 bucks. Okay, so next up on the list is the Kelty Deluxe Reclining Chair. Now, it's one of those things with camping, most people will go out and get themselves a cheap chair every single year, and at some point that chair is gonna rip through, it's gonna break on you, and it's gonna be destroyed. And for the rest of the trip, you're gonna be without a chair. And eventually you'll get tired of that. And so when you get something like this, which obviously I'm sure you're noticing right now, it doesn't even open the same as the other ones do. It comes out of this fold-up bag, so you don't have to force it in there. Mine still got plenty of dirt on it from my last Utah trip. This works as kind of a foot pad if you want to be barefoot and not be walking around on whatever it is on the ground. And then also you can use this to carry wood in, and it's kind of a cool feature. The chair itself is very durable, and it has locking legs back here with these pins, so you can slide these up or down and it'll make the chair recline, and you have 3 different settings for that. These chairs don't fully recline and lay back, but they recline enough to where you can adjust it for whatever you're looking for at the time. If you're looking at the night sky, these have a perfect angle for that, or you can set them up a little bit. But these are a very durable chair, and we've been using these, I think, for 3 or 4 years now, and they're still holding strong. They've got a few burns in them from being around the campfire, but they're not ripping at all anywhere that I can find. These are holding up really well. We also got a version called the Kelty Lowdown. We have 2 of these Kelty Deluxe chairs, and then we have 1 Kelty Lowdown chair, which is very similar, only it doesn't recline and it's a little bit shorter if you're the type of person that likes to sit in a shorter chair, or you need one for your kids or something. I'll put a link for that too, but for people who need a good chair or good chairs, the Kelty Lowdown is one of my favorite options that I've found. I've gone and sat in different outdoor stores to try to find good chairs, and in my opinion, this is one of the best options out there. So that is the Kelty Deluxe Reclining Chair. They do sell a few different versions of this, so make sure that it's the Kelty reclining version, because it is pretty nice to have. And once again, I have gifted this to somebody in my family before, and they are absolutely thrilled with it. The only downside to having a chair like this is when you get up from camp and somebody snags it and you have to sit in one of the old shitty chairs, you will know right away that you miss your good chair. So next up is the Step 22 Tenkili Tech Pouch. Now, this is a company I've only recently started getting into. I saw this stuff at Overland Expo Mountain West, and these are very impressive little bags. I thought that they were just another generic kind of company pumping out bags, and once you check these things out, they're very cool. This one is specifically made for the electronic gadgets, whether it's the DJI Pocket 2 that I was recommending, or GoPros and stuff. I keep microphones in here that I'm filming with right now, another mic for my GoPro, the GoPro itself. I've got ND filters for my camera, and then on the front here, you can get into stuff and you can charge, like say your phone, you can run a wire out right here and you can charge it, and it can also hook to like your seat posts on the back. This is a very cool little kit because it's just a small camera bag. It's not gonna fit a mirrorless camera or something like that, but it does have a lot of features built into it. Memory card slots on the front, so you can keep them organized with little Velcro pouches that you can flip upside down, so you know that that memory card is full or empty. So these are very well thought out bags, and I fully intend to buy more stuff from Step 22. So these are not sold on Amazon, so the link below will be direct to Step 22's website. So these are $65, and the version I bought is like $5 more because it's the multicam, and the standard version's black with kind of red lines all over it and stuff, and it's a very good looking bag as well. But this is what they had in stock, so this is what I got. This is the Step 22 Tenkile, Tenkile. So I think this is one of the coolest little camera bags I've seen in a long time, especially if you're carrying smaller camera items like most people do when they're going on these types of trips. So this is a solid option. Put a spare battery in it for all your stuff, put your memory cards in it, and you've got a cool little bag. So 65 bucks, not too bad at all. Next up is something that I use every time I leave the pavement, and that is the ARB air down tool. I went with ARB instead of the knockoff items because I've had bad luck with the knockoff stuff in the past, and ARB has a good warranty. They've got good customer service, so I know that I could get this handled. So in case you're not familiar with the process of airing stuff down because you're buying this for somebody who would be into off-roading, basically every time we go off-road, we'll air our tires down. The reason for that is more traction and a better ride. So what you do with this is you screw this onto the tire, onto the valve stem, and it will pull the valve core out, and then when you release this, it will rapidly deflate your tires. This is my favorite option. There's different versions out there as far as ones that you screw on each tire and set them for the pressures. I've never had good luck with those. This is my favorite option out there. I can deflate my tires extremely fast with this thing. So the bag has changed. It won't look like this when you see it in the description because they've changed the bag. I've had mine several years. So these are $51, and this will get a lot of use out of whoever it is that's going to be going off-road, doing overlanding stuff, because it's just a tool you have to have, and it's a reliable version of the tool that you have to have. So I highly recommend the ARB air down tool. It's my favorite to date. 51 bucks. So this is the inexpensive Coleman Oven. This is $49, basically $50, and it is a small portable oven that unfolds. So that's it all folded up. It folds flat like a book, and then it has a rack that goes on the inside of it. And this will work on top of pretty much any camping stove that you can find. And so you put it on top of there. On the outside, it has a thermometer. And I can tell you that this works pretty much as good as a home oven does. If you have a long day on the road and you don't want to spend time cooking at the end of the night, you can put this on top of the burner, put like a pot pie in there or something like that, and you can bake something. It's relatively lightweight. It doesn't take up much space at all when it's folded flat, and it can make your quality of life out on the trail that much better. I do think it's pretty nice to have it. So if you have stuff in the fridge or the freezer that's frozen, you can take that out on the trail and just bake it, and it is pretty nice to have the option. So next up is the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. This is just a tiny little stove. You're probably not gonna cook dinner on this thing unless you're just doing mountain house style meals, but this is a very simple stove, and for 34 bucks, you really can't beat it. There are actually very cheap knockoff versions of this on Amazon, but I always recommend having good gear because especially if this is the only stove you have with you, have the quality stuff. But it's just a really simple stove. If you need to boil some water for coffee or something like that, this thing will get after it, and you can boil water in almost as much time as like a jet boil. It is a very efficient and very handy and very small folding stove. The MSR stoves are probably some of the most relied on stoves on the planet as far as expeditions go, and I'm talking real expeditions of people hiking to summits and Mount Everest and things like that. MSR is going to be used in a lot of those situations because it tends to be more reliable than some of the other options. This works for the backpacker. This works for the car camper. You can make coffee real quick on the side of the route, something like that, without having to get out the big stove and hook up propane and stuff. I carry either this or I carry my MSR reactor with me at all times, and it's a very nice little option to have. So this little stove, when it's folded up, it folds into that, and that's as much room as it takes up, and it comes with a small little case that'll fit into so you don't mess it up on the route. And that is the Pocket Rocket 2, and these are 34 bucks, which is a pretty good deal if you ask me. This is a very reliable little stove. This is the Aeropress. Now this is just a little coffee maker that's super portable and super easy to clean up is the key thing. And you can make multiple types of coffee with this. You can do espressos, you can do an Americano style, you can do a latte, and you can do cold brew. So they claim, even though I'm fighting that because cold brew has to usually sit longer on the grounds. But anyway, as far as clean up for a hot cup of coffee, put the grounds in there. There is a small filter on the bottom here. Comes with a funnel in case your cup's a little smaller, but generally speaking, you just set it right on top of your cup. And there's a small filter that it comes with. Comes with like 500 of them or something. There's a ton of them here. And so you let it sit for 10 seconds, press down, and then you will literally have cleanup of turning this and popping that out. And so all the grounds just come out with it. You can eject it straight into a trash can, a small amount of water. You're not wasting much water to clean this thing, and then you're ready to go. And that's really all the cleanup there is to it. So as far as camping goes, one of the most annoying things is if you have to clean up a coffee filter, because if you're using some of the traditional types of camping coffee makers, they're kind of a mess and they use up a lot of water. So something like this is a very easy to use, very clean way to make coffee. It's super simple, but it's just basically a plunger effect. It's called the Aeropress because it uses air pressure to push the coffee through the bottom. But this makes a really good cup of coffee, whether you're doing cold or you're doing hot. But I will fight that it's not true cold brew. So you use something like the Pocket Rocket too to boil some water, put it on top of the grounds, let it sit for 10 seconds, push it down, coffee's made. So the last suggestion here is $25. And it is something that's been around for a little while, but has recently improved dramatically because now they have an app that associates with it and has its own mapping and everything. And that is the subscription to Trails Off-Road. It's $25 for a whole year, and recently they've updated to where now you can save their trails offline. Now the real advantage to this versus some of the other apps, in my opinion, is that you can actually save the trails for offline use. So this works basically as a GPS system, and you can use the same information and transfer it into other apps such as Gaia Maps. So you can save these, export the GPX file, and you can save them into other applications. So if you're buying this for somebody and you don't understand the trail stuff yourself, trails will go through somewhat of a change every year because different people are climbing up different things, rocks get thrown around. So from year to year, some trails will be harder than others. There's plenty of apps out there now that exist where they'll tell you different things about trails and what their rating is and stuff like that, how hard it is. It's not a very good system because it's just somebody's opinion on the matter. The thing with Trails Off-Road is you can choose a trail, you can go down to the bottom, and there will be people that have commented on it from that year. So somebody might get on to the reviews and say, hey, at waypoint 3, it's washed out this year and it's way harder than it has been in previous years. So right away, you can kind of get a grasp of what you're up against. So if somebody isn't comfortable going on different trails, they can kind of get an update of what that trail is. And in my opinion, that is a huge advantage over some of the other apps. So you can transfer these files into your GPS or into your Gaia Maps, and you could also just save them straight to this, and it's got maps built into it. And now you have an off-roading GPS system that's built in, and it's got tons and tons of maps and trails and stuff on it. But they've come a long way, and I think this is one of the coolest options out there. And check out Trails Off-Road. It'll show you where so many different trails are that you never would have known would be there, and it'll give you a rating, and it's a pretty accurate rating because it has the feedback from people that are using the same app. So I think this is one of my favorite apps for off-roading use. Anyway, so I think Trails Off-Road is one of the coolest apps on the market, so check them out. This would make a cool gift for anybody with four-wheel drive in your life. Okay, so those are my holiday suggestions for any of the off-roaders or explorers, overlanders in your life. So if you found this video helpful, like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. And happy holidays, and until next time.